You know, one of the big debates in movie fan circles for a while, and especially got amplified when the pandemic was going on, was the place of streaming in the movie world. More specifically, the place of both theatrical exhibition and streaming, and where does one fit? You had Warner Brothers pull the ass idiot move of deciding to pull all their films from theatrical release and just dump them all on streaming. You saw other places and studios trying to wrestle with which is the way to go, and they've tried different hybrids of it. We saw Disney release films theatrically. We saw Disney release films in theaters and on streaming. We saw them relegate Pixar films like Turning Red, which is one of the biggest boneheaded moves of Bob Chapek's biggest boneheaded reign of CEO of Disney in a long time, dumping that thing on streaming. But even Paramount has played around with it. Universal has played around with it. Everybody's trying to figure that out. Now, one of the things that Robert Meyer Burnett and I have both been saying for a long time, and I think a lot of you guys have been saying the exact same thing, is that when will these studios understand it's not an either or? It's not theatrical or streaming. If you want your movie to do well on streaming, it will do better on streaming if you give it a theatrical release first. It's not either or. It's both and. You will have a bigger impact. Your streaming will do better if you invest in theatrical releasing. And we've been saying that forever. And now, according to a new article and interview in Deadline, Warner Brothers seems to be the studio that gets that. Because get this, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, he said this, talking about theatrical releases. He says this, I've seen the data. A movie that opens in theaters perform 5 times better as opposed to when it goes directly to streaming. A movie that opens in theaters performs 5 times as well as when it goes directly to streaming. Direct to streaming was just a way to drive subscribers to drive up share price. Subscribers today are like clicks in the 90s. People were running around buying companies and aggregating clicks. So that's been one of the things that David Zaslav, now this is no secret, this is nothing new. David Zaslav has kind of hinted before on shareholder meetings saying that, yeah, we believe that this whole idea of making big budget movies that you put directly on streaming is a fool's errand. It's an idiot's game with zero sum. He's absolutely right about that. He's 1,000% right about that. And now that he's got his bean counters coming to him and saying, yeah, well, here are the numbers. We actually got the numbers. When we put a movie in the theaters first and make a bunch of money and then put it on streaming, the movies do better than if we just put them on streaming in the first place. The streaming numbers are better. So it's like, I understand these studios and these companies wanting to bolster their streaming service. I get that. But the way to booster your streaming service is to put these things out there. And now we've got a head of a studio that seems to get that, embraces it, and is actually acting on that. And that's why I've said for a while, like, listen, Warner Brothers Discovery is having a stock slump right now. And I predict, I said this on the show a while ago, that it's going to get worse. I think their stocks is going to continue to drop for a while. I completely do. But 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, you're going to find, because of the foresight that this company has now, this company is going to be in a better position than most other studios 3 or 4 years from now because of the groundwork that they're doing now. And it's this type of philosophy that is going to bring it home for them. Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. You guys know we have been sponsored by MasterClass, and we love them here at the John Campea Show for giving us in-depth information on a wide variety of topics from the world's best experts. With MasterClass, you can learn from the world's best minds anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn the art of filmmaking from James Cameron, improve your cooking skills from Gordon Ramsay, or learn how to make compelling YouTube videos from Marquise Brownlee. With over 150 classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. I was recently watching through the independent filmmaking course by Spike Lee, and I found it fascinating that not only did he cover the broader topics like working with actors, but he also gets into finer details like working with a cinematographer and how to properly audition a DP for your project. It was fascinating. So guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. Get unlimited access to every class, and as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Campea now. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. Anyway, Rob, you were the one who pointed this article out to me. So what are the highlights of this for you?
Well, I think just that you have a studio. That was the thing that struck me the most is the 5 times thing. I read that. I'm like, you gotta read this article. John, I worked for a company in the early 90s called Full Moon Entertainment, and our business was to make direct-to-video movies. That was the model, direct-to-video films that weren't going theatrical. We made them for a price. You made them for a certain amount of money. You knew that you didn't have to put as much money into a theatrical release because it's going to the home market, so there were economic benefits to that. Direct-to-streaming movies are like direct-to-video movies, and yet the mistake they make is they spend $200 million on them and expect to have some kind of a different result. It's like people call Netflix movies. Netflix movies are movies made by Netflix they're like direct-to-video movies.
Yeah.
They don't think of them as real. In people's minds, a movie still has to have, because you put something in a movie theater, that's the end all be all of where a film should be. And also it creates awareness, whether people are aware of it or not. They've heard of it. If you're interested in movies, people said, I went and saw this. It came out theatrically. And here's the difference. Here's what they're trying to avoid. They want to avoid spending the marketing dollars. That's where the money, that's where the money is being spent. Like, you make a $200 million movie. Well, if you're going to make a $200 million movie and put it out theatrically, that's another $100 million you have to spend on some global marketing campaign. Otherwise, it's not worth it. But the thing is, I would ask, and David Zaslav knows this, a $200 million movie, a direct-to-video, direct-to-streaming movie, has no difference from a Christmas movie that Netflix is putting out or a Hallmark.
Right.
There's no difference. Yeah. No one sits there and goes, I'm going to watch this movie because they spent Red Notice $200 million, The Gray Man $220 million. That's $400 million. It might as well be $10 million. It doesn't matter. If a movie has not come out theatrically, it's not a real movie. It's a made-for-TV movie. It's a direct-to-video movie. You got to see it in a theater, or you have to know it was in a theater. I know it's weird, but even the approach that filmmakers take, knowing they're making a direct-to-video movie, and I'm sorry, I can't prove this, but you don't have to work as hard. You don't have to work as hard. If it's direct-to-streaming,
And I'm trying to think, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the room, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm trying to think of one, because maybe even I've got a couple, I'm just not thinking of them, but I cannot think of one big budget, like when you're talking about Gray Man, or you're talking about Red Notice, Ryan Reynolds, I love you. Red Notice. But when you're talking about Red Notice, or you're talking about Gray Man, or like these big...
Six Underground.
Six Underground was another one that was not so good.
I just can't
think of a really good big budget film that was made direct for streaming. I can't think of one.
I'll tell you
that
something.
Chris Pratt one on the Chris Pratt.
It's about the alien invasion, the time travel.
I like that
You know
one.
what? I didn't mind that one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes, that's one. What was the name of that one again?
Tomorrow War.
Tomorrow War.
But I
War.
think
I
that
didn't
was
mind that one,
I
actually,
think that was originally made for theatrical distribution.
And you know what? I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
I think it was.
But I'll tell you how this is just a theory. In The Gray Man, there is a plane sequence, a fight sequence in a plane that's going down. Beautifully done. There's no soul in that sequence. I don't feel any wit or verve. It looks like the Russo brothers, it was completely designed by the previs department. And as a previs thing, it's fine. Look at how cool this is going to be. There's no emotional content in it at all. I never believed that there was any real peril in it. Beautifully shot, great effects, looks terrific, soulless. Because they didn't take the time to put what you would have done in a theatrical movie, which is add emotion to the action scene, because that would have taken more time.
By the way, some people in the live chat are pointing out another one that I liked. It wasn't as huge of a budget, but it's another Ryan Reynolds was, Adam Project. That's another one I didn't mind at all. I kind of liked Adam Project. But I mean, number...
Was that done for direct-to-video, though? I mean, direct-to-streaming?
I think it was, yeah. I think that one was. But here's the thing. Like, Netflix, I'd say 92 out of every 100 of the Netflix original movies are garbage. Like, they're just absolute garbage, not even worth talking about. Some of them are okay. Every once in a while, you get a real gem, like Old Guard or something like that. Every once in a while, but it's so rare. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this statement? Warner Brothers is saying that the data tells them that movies that go theatrical first will do 5 times better on streaming than if they go direct to streaming.
They have marketing dollars behind them, and that's what they're trying to avoid how to spend. Because if you look at the marketing, take a year's worth of marketing for a major studio. That's a lot of money.
And they're just trying to skip it. And they're just, and they look, I get it. They think by going direct to streaming, they're going to increase their subscriber base. But the data is showing if you put in theaters and then say, now the home for that movie, everybody, like when I think they're going to say it's around Christmas, when Top Gun Maverick comes to Paramount Plus, they're going to enjoy a subscriber uptick that will far exceed what they would have had as a subscriber uptake if they had just taken Top Gun Maverick and just put it directly to Paramount Plus without putting it in theaters first.
I would offer this too. And again, this is a complete psychological. You look at Barbarian and you look at Smile. Those are first-time directors. They're putting everything they have. They're trying to make, even though Barbarian 4.5 million spent, Smile 17 million bucks, those movies substantially performed theatrically. Barbarian 40 million on a 4.5 million spend, and they had a great marketing campaign. And then you had Smile, another great marketing campaign, $200 million worldwide, and it's still making money.
Yep, and now they're promoting Smile coming out on digital, and it's going to do way better now on digital.
Way better
than if it had gone straight to video. Anyway, guys, how do you guys feel about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.